Of the 9 people here preparing for today's show, only one will win up to £10,000. The other teammates will leave with nothing, as one by one they're voted off as the weakest link.
Welcome to the weakest link. Any of the 9 people in the studio here today could win up to £10,000. They don't know each other, however. If they want the prize money, they'll have to work as a team. But 8 of them will leave with nothing, as round by round we lose the player, voted the weakest link. Let's meet the team.
I'm Adrian, I'm 30, I work for a computer firm in Swindon.
I'm Steve, I'm 25 from Norbury in South London, and I'm a retail manager.
I'm Lucy, a 20-year-old trainee teacher from Beeley in Worcestershire.
I'm Brenda, I'm 51, I'm self-employed from Sutton Coldfield.
I'm Ian, I'm 42, a management consultant from South Woodford in London.
I'm Barbara, I'm 48, I'm a creche assistant from Spennymoor.
I'm David, I'm 35, I'm a Church Army officer working in Sheffield.
I'm Dawn, I'm 32, I'm a financial consultant and I'm from Wandsworth in London.
I'm John, I'm 44, I'm a supermarket equipment buyer from Cambridge.
Dawn, you're back for a second try.
Another crack at the whip, Anne.
How far did you get last time, Dawn?
3rd round.
Right, well, there's plenty of room for improvement. Now, the rules. In each round, the aim is to answer enough questions correctly to reach your £1,000 target within the time limit. The fastest way is to create a chain of 9 correct answers. Get your question wrong and you break the chain and lose all the money in that chain. But if you say bank before the question is asked, the money is safe. However, you start a new chain from scratch. Remember, at the end of the round, only money that has been banked can be taken forward. In round 1, there are 3 minutes on the clock. We'll start with the person whose name is first alphabetically. That's you, Adrian. Let's play the weakest link. The first question is for £20. Start the clock. Adrian, when correctly spelt, how many N's does the word anoint have?
2.
Correct. Steve, is the Walker Art Gallery in Liverpool or Manchester?
Liverpool.
Correct. Lucy, which flower is the national symbol of the Netherlands?
Tulip.
Correct. Brenda, in medicine, which is worse, a 1st-degree burn or a 3rd-degree burn?
3rd degree.
Correct. Ian.
Bank.
What nationality is Paul Hogan, star of the Crocodile Dundee films?
Australian.
Correct. Barbara, in the animal kingdom, is the anaconda snake native to the North or South America?
North America.
South America. David, complete the title of the Wham pop song Wake Me Up Before You...
Go, go.
Correct. Dawn, in children's literature, which girl famously lived at Green Gables?
Anne.
Correct. John, on English television, who presents Auntie's Bloomers and Auntie's Sporting Bloomers?
I don't know.
Terry Wogan. Adrian, which English spa town, famous since Roman times, is the home of the Georgian Royal Crescent?
Bath.
Correct. Steve, which actor played Batman in the '97 film Batman and Robin?
George Clooney.
Correct. Lucy, Sparta was an ancient city-state in which modern country?
Italy.
Greece. Brenda, in maths, what is 6 times 7?
42.
Correct.
Bank.
Ian, in which Commonwealth country are the Governor-General, the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition all women? Australia or New Zealand?
New Zealand.
Correct. Barbara, what H is the name given to a group of buffalo or bison?
Pass.
Herd. David, in film, how many times did Timothy Dalton play James Bond?
Twice.
Correct. Dawn, which literary prize did Winston Churchill win in 1953?
Nobel.
Correct. John, in history, what game did British and German soldiers play during the Christmas Day truce in 1914?
Football.
Correct. Adrian,
Bank.
who was the only 20th century American president to resign in office?
Richard Nixon.
Correct. Steve, what is the current UK telephone dialing code for Leeds?
0115.
0113, Lucy. Which Roman emperor was the subject of 2 novels by Robert Graves?
Julius Caesar.
Claudius. Brenda. In the children's nursery rhyme, give the line which usually follows, Old King Cole was a merry old soul.
And a merry old soul was he.
Correct.
Bank.
Ian. What F is an establishment where metals are cast in moulds?
Foundry.
Correct. Barbara. In geography, does China share its border with more or less than 10 countries?
More.
Correct. David. In pop music, in which decade was the singer Freddie Mercury born?
50s.
1940s. Dawn.
Bank.
Which type of transport was preferred by the 2 fat ladies in their TV cookery series?
Bicycles.
Motorbike and sidecar. John. Which former general became president of France in 1958?
De Gaulle.
That was the correct answer, but time was up, and of the £1,000 available, you won 340. Is there someone here you would like to get rid of very fast before they cost you a great deal of money? One of you is about to leave with nothing. It's time to vote off the weakest link.
Statistically, Ian is the strongest link. He answered all his questions correctly and banked the most money for the team. The weakest link is Lucy. She only got 1 question right and lost the team £100. But in this early stage of the game, how will the voting go?
Voting over. It's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Barbara.
Barbara.
Barbara. Barbara.
Barbara.
Oh, Lucy.
Barbara.
Lucy.
Barbara.
John. Why Barbara?
She got 2 wrong.
Right. Did you have a good round?
Not the best.
Lucy. That's very nice writing. You're a trainee teacher, are you?
Well, yeah, got to keep the writing neat just in case the lecturers are watching.
Right. Is that your main concern tonight?
Well, no.
Why Barbara?
Because she got 2 questions wrong.
How many did you get wrong? Have they taught you how to count at college?
Yeah, I think I got 2 wrong as well.
You did. And statistically, you were the worst player, weren't you?
Probably.
Yeah, it's just that only 2 people here were bright enough to notice. So, Barbara,
Yes, Anne.
with 7 votes, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
To be voted out first, I'm not too disappointed. In the rehearsals, I got all of the questions right, and to get 2 wrong in the show, just bad luck, I suppose. I think they'll vote Lucy out next because she was a weak link like me.
Round 2, you've won £340 out of a possible £1,000, so I'm hardly fainting with admiration. 8 of you left. We are now taking 10 seconds off the clock. We'll start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Ian. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Ian, in ancient history, Caesarion was the son of Julius Caesar and which queen?
Pass.
Cleopatra. David, in maths, a nonagon is a shape with how many sides?
6.
9. Dawn, in the animal kingdom, does a badger walk with its feet pointing inwards or outwards?
Inwards.
Correct. John, Genoa is a city in which country?
Italy.
Correct. Adrian, in
Bank.
athletics, which famous London race was first held in 1981?
Marathon.
Correct. Steve, in which century did the English poet William Blake die?
19th.
Correct. Lucy, in nature, is jacaranda the name of a tree or an animal?
Animal.
Tree. Brenda, in biology, what is the largest organ inside the human body?
Liver.
Correct.
Bank.
Ian, in which decade was London's post office tower, now called the British Telecom Tower, opened?
60s.
Correct. David, in science, what G is the name given to a small opening on the Earth's surface that periodically spouts a fountain of boiling water and steam?
Giza.
Correct. Dawn, which star of musicals was born Elaine Bickerstaff?
Pass.
Elaine Page. John, in cookery, what are dried plums usually called?
Prunes.
Correct. Adrian,
Bank.
which title meaning emperor was held by the German ruler Wilhelm II?
Kaiser.
Correct. Steve, television comic Bernie Clifton is famous for riding which comedy bird?
Pass.
Ostrich. Lucy. Which English county is also a forename of the author Morn?
Somerset.
Correct. Brenda. In England, which animals were virtually wiped out by myxomatosis in the 1950s?
Rabbits.
Correct. Ian.
Bank.
In the First World War, what did the initials BEF stand for?
British Expeditionary Force.
Correct. David. Which children's radio programme is associated with the phrase, "Are you sitting comfortably"?
Crackerjack.
Listen with Mother. Dawn. In which city did Roger Bannister set his world record by running a mile in under 4 minutes?
London.
Oxford. John. In 1993, which female Conservative MP publicly opposed the ordination of Anglican women priests and converted to Catholicism?
Anne Widdecombe.
Correct. Adrian, what V is a kind of organism which causes the common cold?
Virus.
Correct. Steve.
Bank.
Which holiday area lies further south, the Costa Blanca or the Costa Dorada?
Costa Blanca.
Correct. Lucy. Which English actress made her film debut in 1994 playing a schoolgirl in Heavenly Creatures?
Pass.
Kate Winslet. Brenda. Which Oxford University College, founded in 1483, is famous for only accepting undergraduates?
Jesus.
All Souls. Ian. Which desert plant appears on the national flag of Mexico?
Cactus.
That was the correct answer, but time was up. And in that round, you got £190 of the £1,000 you could have won. Why aren't you winning more money? Who's breaking the chains? One of you is about to leave with nothing. It's time to vote off the weakest link.
Adrian is the strongest link as he answered all his questions correctly and banked money for the team. For the second time, the weakest link statistically is Lucy. Can she survive another vote?
Voting over, it's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Lucy.
David.
Dawn. David.
Lucy.
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 Dawn, why Lucy?
Lucy seems quite nervous from the start, and I think that's why she's getting the questions wrong. She's not really concentrating, Anne.
No, she got 2 questions wrong.
And
didn't
so
she?
did I.
Yeah. Well, Lucy, we'll be terribly, terribly disappointed at not having your neat writing around anymore, but with 5 votes, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
I feel disappointed to be voted off. I'd hoped to do better. I do think my age may have been a factor because in the rounds I was getting as many questions wrong as others, but they weren't being voted out, and I think it was probably because people thought they knew more than I did. I think the next person to be voted off will be Dawn. I feel she's not done too well in the rounds, and she has been getting quite a few wrong.
Round 3. You've got £530 in the bank. You could have won £2,000 by now. You have deeply upset Lucy by sending her off. You are down to 7 players. We're taking another 10 seconds off the clock. We start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Adrian. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Adrian, in music, for what is DAT an acronym?
Digital audio tape.
Correct. Steve, in which decade did the television programme Top of the Pops begin?
1960s.
Correct. Brenda, what B is the common name for a solution of salt in water used in the food manufacturing industry?
Brine.
Correct. Ian.
Bank.
In literature, did Arthur Miller or Eugene O'Neill write the 1946 play The Iceman Cometh?
O'Neill.
Correct.
Bank.
David, in pop music, the first solo album of which former member of Take That was entitled Life Through a Lens?
Robbie Williams.
Correct. Dawn, what kind of physical activity is Fiona Campbell famous for?
Athletics.
Walking. John, in meteorology, which phenomenon is formed when the sun shines through water droplets?
Rainbow.
Correct. Adrian, when were premium bonds introduced in the UK? 1956 or 1966?
1956.
Correct. Steve, in biology, which organ of the body contains the sebaceous glands?
Colon.
Skin. Brenda, Is Clarice Cliff best known as a designer of jewellery or a designer of pottery?
Pottery.
Correct. Ian, which 1940s Lerner and Loewe musical is set in a legendary Scottish village?
Pass.
Brigadoon. David, which inn appears in the title of a Daphne du Maurier novel?
It's the Treasure Island one, isn't it?
Jamaica Inn. Dawn.
Bank.
In farming, the Aylesbury is a breed of which domesticated animal?
Cow.
Duck. John, which country was once ruled by the Manchu dynasty?
China.
Correct. Adrian, in the children's story Jack and the Beanstalk, which animal did Jack trade for beans?
Cow.
Correct. Steve, in which English town in Cumbria is there a pencil museum?
Penrith.
Keswick. Brenda, traditionally in Britain the rose is a flower associated with which month?
May.
June. Ian, until the Islamic revolution of Ayatollah Khomeini, what was the title taken by the rulers of Iran?
Shah.
Correct.
Bank.
David, in the United States of America, by what name are the Senate and the House of Representatives collectively known?
Congress.
Correct. Dawn.
Bank.
In sport, in which country will the 2002 Commonwealth Games be held?
South Africa.
England. John, what A is the name of a natural underground reservoir?
Aquifer.
Correct. Adrian, during which war did the siege of Stalingrad take place?
Second World War.
Time's up. That was the correct answer. And in that round, you won a not terribly impressive £180. Who would definitely be better out of here? It's time to vote off the weakest link.
Adrian is the strongest link for the second round in a row, although Ian banked the most money. The weakest link statistically is Dawn. She failed to answer a single question correctly, although she did bank some money. Will this save her when it comes to the voting?
Voting over, it's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Dawn.
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 Steve.
Steve.
David.
Ian, why Dawn?
We all had a poor round, but I think on balance, overall, Dawn's the worst.
Steve, you didn't think Dawn did much that last round?
I don't think I did much either,
That's correct.
but I think I got at least one right.
Yeah. Is that as high as you're aiming, one right each round?
No, I'm aiming for more.
Are you? Good. Will we see evidence of that soon?
I hope so.
Well, Dawn, last time you got to the third round, nothing much has changed. You were the worst player statistically, and with 4 votes, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
I'm consistent.
When I did the walk of shame, I thought, here I go again. The next person definitely has to be Steve because he's very, very weak. He doesn't seem to have any confidence. I think he should have been voted off instead of me, so he's definitely next.
Round 4. The £710 banked so far. That's out of potential prize money of £3,000. You've given the elbow to all but one of the women on the team. There are now 6 of you left. We are taking another 10 seconds off the clock. You now have only 2.5 minutes. We'll start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Adrian. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Adrian, in computing, how many bytes are needed to store a single character of data?
16.
1. Steve, in the 1950s, what nickname was given to youths who wore mock Edwardian fashions?
Mods.
Teddy boys. Brenda, which snack food was first made in Britain by Carters of London in 1913?
Crisps.
Correct. Ian, in which decade did Britain's first yellow no parking lines appear on the streets of Slough?
60s.
1950s. David, in sport, in which year did Daley Thompson first win the Olympic decathlon?
The 80s.
No, 1980. John, which part of a carrot is normally eaten?
The root.
Correct. Adrian, what L is the name given to the flower garland worn around the neck in Hawaii?
Lei.
Correct. Steve.
Bank.
In football, who scored the only goal for England against Germany in Euro 2000?
Paul Scholes.
Alan Shearer. Brenda. In chess, which piece can legally move only one square in any direction?
King.
Correct. Ian.
Bank.
Who succeeded John Betjeman as English Poet Laureate?
Pass.
Ted Hughes. David. What class of rail travel was abolished in the UK in 1956?
Third class.
Correct. John. In the Jane Austen novel, who does the character Emma marry?
I don't know.
Mr. Knightley. Adrian. In which ancient city were criminals executed by throwing them from the Tarpeian Rock?
Athens.
Rome. Steve. In art, who famously painted Mr. and Mrs. Clark and Percy, Percy being a dog?
Pablo Picasso.
David Hockney. Brenda. Of the leaders of the UN member states, who was the first to speak at the United Nations Millennium Summit in September 2000?
America.
Bill Clinton. Ian. In
Frank.
film, from which industrial city did the Full Monty Men come?
Sheffield.
Correct. David.
Bank.
Which common breed of a dairy cattle are named after the former county in southwest Scotland where they originated?
Galloway.
Ayrshire. John. Which rock band released the album OK Computer in 1997?
I don't know.
Radiohead. Adrian. In biology, which of the senses is stimulated by things with tactile qualities?
Touch.
Correct. Steve.
Bank.
Who created the cartoon cat Garfield?
Pass.
Jim Davis. Brenda. Time is up, and in that round you managed to bank only £110. You can't afford dead wood. Who is no longer worth a place here? It's time to vote off the weakest link.
The strongest link is Brenda, as she got the fewest wrong answers. Steve is the weakest link statistically. He was the only player to get all his questions wrong. However, he did bank the most money for the team. But have the other players picked up on that?
Voting over, it's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Steve.
John.
Steve.
Steve.
Ian.
Steve.
Adrian, what do you do for a job?
I work in a computer firm.
Do you?
Say in my defence, as an administrator, not as a programmer.
But I asked you how many bytes are needed to store one character of data.
I said, all I can say is I'm admin, not one of the programmers. Otherwise, I would have been voting myself off.
It's just as well you're not one of the programmers.
I know.
Why Steve?
He's had a couple of really, really tough rounds. He's banked well, but he hasn't had many questions right.
Well, actually, Steve, you didn't get any questions right.
It was spectacularly awful.
Yes, I think that's a fair way to describe it. Statistically, you were the worst player, not surprisingly. 4 wrong answers, and with 4 votes, the team caught on to that and have voted you the weakest link. Goodbye.
I feel as though I should have been voted off. I can't believe I got the question with Garfield wrong, because he's my favourite cartoon character, so unbelievable. I think John will probably be the person who goes next, although I wish all of them the best of luck, especially with Anne in there.
Round 5. Your total so far is £820. If you'd hit your targets, it would be £4,000. It's unwise to keep your knowledge hidden. 5 players left, another 10 seconds coming off the time. We'll start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Brenda. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Brenda, in September 2000, Jennifer Murray became the world's first woman to circumnavigate the world alone in what mode of transport?
A yacht.
Helicopter. Ian, from which part of the flower is sunflower oil obtained?
Seed.
Correct. David, who composed the theme tune for the Pink Panther films and cartoons?
Morricone.
Henry Mancini. John, Ian Botham's son Liam is best known for playing which sport?
Football.
Rugby union. Adrian, Oliver Tambo is a leading figure in the modern history of which African country?
Uganda.
South Africa. Brenda, In religion, the admission of one of the members of the Roman Catholic Church to the calendar of saints is known as what?
Canonisation.
Correct. Ian. In cinema, which director's films include Reservoir Dogs and Jackie Brown?
Quentin Tarantino.
Correct. David. In medicine, which sporting image is given to a fungal infection of the skin between the toes?
Athlete's foot.
Correct. John. Who wrote the best-selling novel A Woman of Substance?
Barbara Bradford.
Barbara Taylor Bradford.
Bank.
Adrian. During which century did the Crimean War take place?
19th century.
Correct. Brenda. In which sea are the Cayman Islands?
Caribbean.
Correct. Ian.
Bank.
Who is the usual presenter of the BBC sports talk show Onside?
David Baddiel.
John Inverdale. David. In maths, what name is given to the boundary of a circle?
Circumference.
Correct. John. Which Yorkshire football club has been nicknamed the Blades?
Sheffield Wednesday.
Sheffield United. Adrian. Which French artist born in 1864 had his growth stunted by 2 childhood accidents?
Toulouse-Lautrec.
Correct. Brenda. Alvida saying Sweetheart was a 1952 chart hit for which popular wartime singer?
Vera Lynn.
Correct. Ian.
Bank.
The term binary star describes how many stars in orbit around a common centre of gravity?
2.
Correct. David. Which particular organ in the body is affected by pleurisy?
The lungs.
Correct. John. Where on its body does the male emperor penguin keep the female's egg warm?
On its back.
Its feet. Adrian. In geography, the Yellow Sea. Time is up. I cannot complete the question. And in that round, you managed to bank only £100. One of you is about to leave with nothing. It's time to vote off the weakest link.
The strongest link statistically is Ian. He only got one question wrong and was the only member of the team to bank any money. The weakest link is John. He didn't get a single question right and lost the most money. But will the other players have noticed?
Voting over, it's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
John.
John.
Adrian.
John.
Adrian.
David. Why John?
Well, I think the last couple of rounds, he was starting to fade a bit. Mind you, he was getting some awful questions. So it was a very close thing, really.
Brenda, why John?
Well, I think he was very unlucky, but he did get most of them wrong.
John, all 4 questions wrong. Couldn't you be bothered to answer them?
I think I was just plain unlucky.
Well, not surprisingly, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
I think Anne is a very formidable questioner, and it's not surprising that people get nervous. I think they'll vote Adrian off next because he is starting to fluff answers.
Round 6, and of the £5,000 you could have won by now, you've banked a very unimpressive £920. 4 of you left. We are cutting another 10 seconds from your time. We start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Ian. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Ian, complete the title of this #1 pop song from St Winifred's School Choir. There's no one quite like who?
Grandma.
Correct. David, which Asian conflict took place between 1950 and 1953?
Korean War.
Correct. Adrian,
Bank.
in the children's story, to which city did Dick Whittington travel in search of streets paved with gold?
London.
Correct. Brenda, in the 19th century, which fruit crop was badly hit by the parasite Phylloxera?
Potato.
Grapevines. Ian, in the film Star Wars, which actor provides the voice of Darth Vader?
James Earl Jones.
Correct. David, in which month is the current Prince of Wales's birthday?
November.
Correct. Adrian, in
Bank.
the human body, what kind of cell is a neuron?
It's a nerve.
Correct. Brenda, in food, which famous meringue-based dessert is named after a ballerina?
Pavlova.
Correct.
Bank.
Ian. With which sport would you primarily associate Kirtley Ambrose?
Cricket.
Correct. David. What is the name of the large island which is separated from the southeastern coast of Africa by the Mozambique Channel?
Madagascar.
Correct. Adrian.
Bank.
The birth rate is given as the number of live births per how many of the population?
1,000.
Correct. Brenda. In TV, Dervla Kirwan and Stephen Tompkinson played the leads in which BBC series?
Ballycus Angel.
Correct. Ian. In history, which 1955 agreement created a military alliance among Eastern Bloc nations?
Warsaw Pact.
Correct. David.
Bank.
In the New Testament, who is usually credited with the authorship of 2 letters to the church in Corinth?
St. Paul.
Correct. Adrian.
Bank.
Which Scottish city is the home of Heart of Midlothian Football Club?
No idea.
Edinburgh. Brenda. In which decade was the first edition of the children's book Thomas the Tank Engine published?
50s.
1940s. Ian. Which pop band's hits included I'm a Believer and Daydream Believer?
The Monkeys.
Correct. David.
Bank.
In maths, which circular diagrams show the relationship between sets?
Circumference.
Time's up. The correct answer is Venn diagrams. And in that round, you did slightly better, team. You managed to bank £340. But who is being shown up as too slow to stay? Who can't cope with the pressure and is unlikely to cope with the further pressure of more time off the clock? Less time to think. One of you is about to leave with nothing. It's time to vote off the weakest link.
For the second round in a row, Ian is the strongest link statistically. He answered the most questions correctly and banked money for the team. The weakest link is Brenda. She got the most questions wrong and was the only player not to bank any money. But will the voting reflect the reality?
Voting over, it's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Brenda.
Adrian.
Adrian.
Brenda.
We have a tie. Adrian and Brenda, 2 votes each. Adrian, why Brenda?
She had more questions wrong than me. It was quite close that round, but she, with 2 questions, got the most wrong.
Brenda, why Adrian?
I had to vote for somebody.
He wasn't the weakest link though, was he?
No, I was.
Statistically. Well, when the vote is tied, the strongest link has to cast the deciding vote. Ian, as the strongest link, would you rather get rid of Adrian or Brenda? You can change your mind if you wish.
It's a very tough choice, Annie, but I think I'll go with Adrian.
Why? Because statistically he wasn't the weakest link.
But I've gone with Adrian, so I'll stick with it.
Why?
I just think he's a amiable and affable person, but he's also very bright.
I see, so you're not playing as a team member.
No, we're getting down to the end now, so no.
Adrian, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Obviously, I'm very disappointed that I'm not in the final round. I believe, and it's a bit harsh, I think it was a bit of cowardice on the part of Ian to vote me off when I wasn't the weakest link. I think he was scared to face me in the final round, to be honest.
Round 7, you have £1,260 out of the £6,000 you could have won. 3 of you left, another 10 seconds off the clock. We'll start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Ian. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Ian, which jazz singer and trumpeter was nicknamed Satchmo?
Louis Armstrong.
Correct. David, in which English county is the market town of King's Lynn?
Norfolk.
Correct. Brenda.
Bank.
What is the official language in the Republic of Yemen?
Arabic.
Correct. Ian, which astronomer achieved fame through the Sky at Night TV series?
Patrick Moore.
Correct. David.
Bank.
Which Joseph Conrad novel was the inspiration for the film Apocalypse Now?
Pass.
Heart of Darkness. Brenda, the term patrician originally referred to the aristocrats of which ancient city?
Athens.
Rome. Ian, What type of domestic cat is thought to get its name from Attab in Iraq, where striped silk was made in the Middle Ages?
Siamese.
Tabby. David, which former England coach became the manager of Southampton Football Club?
Mick Shannon.
Gled Hoddle. Brenda, the disease beriberi is caused by a lack of which vitamin?
Vitamin B.
No, I can't accept it. It's vitamin B1. Ian, what is the capital of Croatia?
Zagreb.
Correct. David,
Bank.
in music, which classic Don McLean 1972 single has recently been covered by Madonna?
American Pie.
Correct. Brenda, in literature, which English saint's death features in the play Murder in the Cathedral?
Thomas à Becket.
Correct. Ian, the porcelain factory of Joshua Spode was built in which English city?
Stoke.
Correct. David,
Bank.
who wrote the book Schindler's Ark, which became the film Schindler's List?
Pass.
Thomas Keneally. Brenda, cricket, football and around the clock are variations on which pub game?
Darts.
Correct. Ian, which English city has been called the City of 1,000 Trades?
Manchester.
Birmingham. David, in the UK from 1950, what period of time was served by national servicemen? Time's up, and in that round you managed to bank £220. Now, in round 8, you get the chance to treble what you bank, and that means in the next round there's £3,000 to be won. The question is, who's got to go? It's time to vote off the weakest link.
Ian is the strongest link as he got the most questions right. However, he was the only player not to bank any money. Although David banked the most money, he is the weakest link statistically, as he got the most questions wrong. At this crucial stage in the game, how will the voting go?
Voting over, it's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
David.
David.
Ian.
Brenda, why David?
Well, I think of the two others, he was the weakest.
Ian, why David?
It's a revenge thing, Annie. He voted for me in the previous round.
David, with 2 votes, you are the weakest link. The fight.
When I did the walk of shame, I just felt I got to the last 3 and that was wonderful. It wasn't good enough for the last 2. I gave them a good run for their money.
Round 8, in the bank is £1,480. You could by now, of course, have won £7,000. Ian and Brenda, just the two of you left, and this time you have only 90 seconds. But whatever you win in this round will be trebled and added to your total to make up your final prize money. £3,000 is at stake in this round. We'll start with the strongest link from the last round, that's Ian. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Ian, who is the novelist sister of writer A.S. Byatt?
Pass.
Margaret Drabble. Brenda, which South American country used to be known as Dutch Guiana?
Belize.
Suriname. Ian, in food, what continent does couscous originate?
Asia.
Africa. Brenda, fashion designer Karl Lagerfeld comes from which country?
America.
Germany. Ian, in music, what instrument has a wind, chest and pipes?
Organ.
Correct. Brenda, the world's first iron bridge was erected in 1779 in which English county?
Shropshire.
Correct. Ian.
Bank.
In sport, who set a world water speed record on Ullswater in 1955?
Campbell.
Correct. Brenda, how did the 16th US President Abraham Lincoln die in 1865?
He was shot.
Correct. Ian.
Bank.
In astronomy, what unit is used to describe the distance travelled by a beam of light in a vacuum in 1 year?
Light year.
Correct. Brenda, if A is Alpha and Z is Zulu, what is U?
Uniform.
Correct. Ian, what was the name of the Argentine general who ordered the seizure of the Falkland Islands in 1982?
Pass.
General Galtieri. Brenda, the root of which plant is made into pungent sauce traditionally served with roast beef?
Horseradish.
Correct. Ian. Time up. You didn't make it to £1,000. You made it to only £100. Never mind, we'll treble that and add it to the winnings from the previous rounds. That means prize money today of £1,780. But of course, only one of you can take that money away. So you will now be playing against each other head to head. I'll ask alternate questions, best of 5. Whoever answers the most correctly wins. It's as simple as that. If there's a tie after 5, we'll go for sudden death until we have a winner. So, Brenda and Ian, for £1,780, let's play The Weakest Link. Brenda, as the strongest link in the last round, you have the choice of who goes first.
I'll let Ian go first.
Ian, in the Bible, who led the Israelites out of Egypt with his younger brother Moses?
Abraham.
Aaron. Brenda, what are the 2 cities in Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities?
London and Paris.
That is the correct answer. Ian, the artist Tommy Steele sculpted the statue of which character from a Lennon and McCartney song, now in Stanley Street, Liverpool?
Eleanor Rigby.
That is the correct answer. Brenda, in the Beatrix Potter children's books, which character lost his tail after a fight with an owl?
Peter Rabbit.
The correct answer is Squirrel Nutkin. Ian, what is the capital city of Yugoslavia?
Belgrade.
That's the correct answer. Brenda, from which West African country did Biafra declare independence in 1967?
Nigeria.
That is the correct answer. Ian, in which board game are the terms bar point and outer table used?
I don't know.
The answer is backgammon. Brenda, in 1985, which British singer used Concorde to enable him to play on both sides of the Atlantic for Live Aid?
Mick Jagger.
Correct answer is Phil Collins. Ian, in entertainment, what does the acronym BAFTA stand for?
British Academy of Film, Television Arts.
That is the correct answer. Brenda, you need to answer this question correctly or Ian wins. What middle name is shared by President Bill Clinton and opposition leader William Hague?
Franklin.
The correct answer is Jefferson. That means, Ian, you are today's strongest link and you go away with £1,780. Brenda, you leave with nothing. Join us again for The Weakest Link. Goodbye.
I think it could have been different had I gone first, because a few of his questions I could have answered. The one he got wrong I would have answered. So maybe it was a bad choice on my part to go second.
I'm glad I went second because I found the questions, even though I got 2 of them wrong, better going second than the first ones.